Hey everybody, in this video we are going to practice a PSAT calculator test. We get up to 45 minutes to answer 31 questions, and we have these formulas at our disposal. Now on a test like this, if you get a few wrong, you can still have a really good score. So if we end up having to do a few guesses, that won't be the end of the world. We'll do all the math correctly on here, but I'll also let you know when there are times when maybe you might consider guessing. All right, so number one, which of the following expressions is equivalent to this binomial times this binomial? So we will distribute 3x times x, that is 3x squared, and 3x times 1 is 3x. And then negative 2 times x is negative 2x, and negative 2 times 1 is negative 2. We have like terms to combine here, and 3x minus 2x is 1x. So we have 3x squared plus x minus 2, and that looks like option D. An athlete throws a javelin, a long metal spear, at a track and field competition. The javelin's height in feet, h, is a function of the number of seconds since it was thrown, which is t for time. It is modeled by the equation right here. What is the height of the javelin after 5 seconds? So when t is 5, so h of 5 is negative 16 times 5 squared plus 128 times 5. Okay, so we're just putting a 5 in for time. So we have negative 16 times 5 squared plus 128 times 5, and that is 240, so the height is 240 feet, which is option C. Okay, so in this equation, if x and y are integers, what is the value of putting in x is negative 3 and y is 4, so we'll put negative 3 in for x and 4 for y, so that's 2 times negative 3 minus 3 times 4. 2 times negative 3 is negative 6 minus 3 times 4 is 12. Negative 6 minus 12, and that is negative 18, option A. Depreciation is the decrease in value of an item. 3 years ago, Aaron bought a computer for $930. The computer is now worth $570. Assuming the value of the computer depreciates linearly, which means it depreciates the same amount every year, what is the yearly depreciation? So we need to know the total depreciation. So it was worth $930. We'll subtract the current value of $570. So $930 divided by 70. Minus 70. $930 minus 570 is 360. $930 minus 570 is 360. So it has depreciated $360. And it has done so over 3 years. So we will divide by 3, and that's $120 per year. So the annual depreciation or the yearly depreciation is $120. Okay, so we'll go on to our next page, number 5. On a house blueprint, 2 feet is represented by 1 inch. If a room on the blueprint measures 5 inches by 6 inches, what is the area of the actual room? So if one of the dimensions is 5 inches and each inch is 2 feet, 5 inches doubled is 10, but now we're in 10 feet. So this 5-inch dimension represents 10 feet after multiplying by 2. And the 6-inch dimension, if each inch is 2 feet, then 6 inches times 2 is 12 feet. So the room is 10 feet by 12 feet. 10 times 12 is 120, and that is 120 feet squared. Option D. Club participation at a school. The graph represents the student participation for 4 clubs. Each student is allowed to participate in only one club. If the school has 250 students, how many are not in a club? Well, debate has 20 members. Student council has, looks like 70 members. Orchestra looks like 90 members. And choir, 40 members. Okay, so we'll add up all those students. 20 plus 70 plus 90 plus 40 is 220 students in a club. Now look, that's one of the options. A is 220. Okay, but we don't want option A. We want to know how many are not in a club. 220 are in a club out of 250 students. 250 minus 220 is 30. There are 30 students not in a club. Which of the following equations best describes the trend for this scatter plot? Okay, now it's a parabola. That means it needs a squared. If it's got first power only, that's linear. It is not C or D. It has to be A or B as a parabola. So what I'll do is take this value of x and plug it into this first equation here. And if I get this value of y, then I'll know this is correct. If I plug in a 3 for x and I get something other than 28, then I'll know it's not A, and I'll know then that it will be B. So we'll plug in 3 for x, so we have 3 times 3 squared plus 1. Okay, now order of operations says 3 squared goes first. 3 squared is 9, times 3 is 27, plus 1 is 28. Or, if I put that in my calculator, 3 times 3 squared plus 1, and I get 28. So when I plugged in a 3, I got 28 for this equation, so I know this equation is the correct equation. Costs comparison of tools. If a distributor receives a 10% discount from John's Tools and 15% discount from Lynn's Tools, how much more would they pay in dollars to buy a drill and electric saw from John's Tools than Lynn's Tools? So we're going to buy a drill and an electric saw. So at John's Tools, that's $50 and $30 each, but I get a 10% discount, which means I'm really only paying 90% of the cost. So I'm paying 90% of $50 for the drill plus 90% of $30 for the electric saw. So 0.9 times 50 plus 0.9 times 30, that's $72 total at John's Tools. Now at Lynn's Tools, the drill is $55 and the saw is $25, but I get a 15% discount. So I'm only paying 85% of 55 plus 85% of 25. 0.85 times 55 plus 0.85 times 25 is $68. A difference of $4. Option A. Okay, so we will move on then to our next page with number 9. Okay, so on number 9 and 10, we are going to use this chart. Now in this chart, we see the dark represents negative numbers, so the percent of a number of a set that is negative, and the gray here represents the percent in that set that is even numbers. Okay, so how many sets had more even than negative numbers? So even is gray, so if that's bigger, if that bar is bigger than the dark, then that set had more even than negatives, and it looks like that happened in set A and C, so that's 2 of the 3 sets had more even than negative numbers. If set B has 200,000 elements, how many more negative numbers than even numbers would we expect to find in the set? Okay, so it looks like negative numbers is more than 70%. That would be about here. So it looks like about 75% of set B was negative numbers. And it looks like 50% of set B was even numbers. Okay, so there were 200,000 elements. So 75% of 200,000, 0.75 times 200,000 is 150,000. And even numbers was 50% of the set. So 50% of 200,000, and that is 100,000. Okay, so how many more negative numbers than even numbers? So I will subtract these and get 50,000. There will be 50,000 more negatives than evens. That is option B. 1 byte is a unit of memory size used with computers. 1 megabyte contains approximately 10 to the 6th bytes. And Paul's computer hard drive accesses information at a rate of 150 megabytes per second. If Paul wants to work with 5 files on his computer that are 2,340 times 10 to the 6 bytes each, so they're 2,340 megabytes each, approximately how long will it take his computers to access them? Okay, so if one of the files is 2,340 megabytes, and this computer will access 150 megabytes per second, then if I divide, I'll find out how many seconds it takes to access one file. So that's 2,340 megabytes divided by 150 megabytes per second. That is 15.6 seconds each. So each file will take 15.6 seconds. Okay, now there are 5 files. So I'll multiply that by 5 and get 78. So it will take 78 seconds to access all 5 files. Okay, that's more than 15.6 seconds. 15.6 seconds will only do one file. Okay, 39 seconds, no, we're more than that. We're at 78 seconds. Then we have 1.3 minutes, or 78 minutes. So I know it's not A or B. I know it's not 78 minutes. So 78 seconds must be about 1.3 minutes. Okay, so our next page will bring us to number 12. Maria has been offered an exchange of coin collections for her wood carving. So she's got a wood carving. She's been given a couple of different offers. I'll give you my coin collection for your wood carving. A summary of the coin collections is found in the table above. If she evaluates the offers based only on face value of the coins, which collection is Maria most likely to choose? So it will be offer 1, offer 2, or are they equally likely because they're the same value? So let's see which one has greater value, or if they're the same. So offer 1 has 25-cent coins, so 20 times 5, plus 15 10-cent coins, plus 4 25-cent coins. That's a value of 350 cents. Offer 2 has 1 less coin, so it's only got 38 coins, but the value, 25 5-cent coins, plus 5 10-cent coins, plus 8 25-cent coins, is 375. So this has a value of 375 cents. So it looks like offer 2 is the more likely offer. Let's see here. Offer 2 is worth more than offer 1. So Maria will pick offer 2. Okay, so there's options of same value. Offer 1 is worth more, offer 2 is worth more, or just because offer 1 has the greater number of coins. But offer 2 has the greater value, so Maria is most likely to choose that offer. During the first month of life, a newborn's weight increases by 30 Okay, so that means after 1 month, its weight is about 130% of what it was when it was born. If a newborn weighs W pounds when it is 1 month, which expression gives the baby's weight at birth? So if we take its 1 month weight and divide it by 130%, we will have its approximate birth weight. Current weight divided by 130%, option C. Okay, questions 14 and 15 will use this chart of immigration demographics. So it looks like for some particular area, about a quarter, 25% of the immigrants come from Europe. Asia and Africa are a little less, but they look like about 25% combined, and about half the immigrants come from other places. 25% of the immigration population originated in which of the following continents? Asia and Europe. Asia and Europe combined, that's more than 25%. Asia and Africa combined looks a lot like 25%. I will take option B. 20% of the immigrant population from Europe are from France. If there are a total of 1,500 immigrants in the city, how many immigrants are from France? Okay, so it looks like 25% come from Europe. Now, there's a total of 1,500 people in this chart, represented in this chart. Okay, so 25% of them come from Europe. So 0.25 times 1,500. 0.25 times 1,500 is 375. So it looks like 375 are coming from Europe. Now, 20% of them, so it's 375 from Europe, and 20% of that is from France. So 0.20 times 375. 0.20 times 375 is 75. So it looks like 75 people in this city immigrated from France. Okay, next page, number 16. If 10% of a number is 12, what is the value of 5% of the original number? So we'll make an equation out of this. 10% of a number is 12, so 0.10 times some number is 12. So let's divide by 0.10. 12 divided by 0.10 is 120. Okay, so the original number is 120. So we want to know the value of 0.5 or 0.05, so 5% of half of the original number. So we have to take half of that original number, and that is 60, and we want 5% of that number. So 0.05 times 60. 0.05 times 60 is 3. Option B. What is the value of A plus B in this system of equations? So we need to solve the system of equations for A and B, and then add A plus B. Okay, so I want both of them to be in the same format here. So I am going to move this over, and I'll have positive 2b, so 2b plus a equals negative 3, and then b minus a equals negative 24. And now this is set up for elimination. A minus a, those eliminate. 2b plus b, that's 3b. Negative 3 minus 24 is negative 27. Okay, then I can divide by 3. Negative divided by positive is negative, and 27 divided by 3 is 9. So I get b is negative 9. Okay, now I can plug that into an original, so I'll put that right here into this first equation. A equals negative 2 times b, which is negative 9, minus 3. Negative 2 times negative 9 is positive 18, and 18 minus 3 is 15. Okay, so we want to be careful. We don't want to just say, hey, we got negative 9. There it is. Or now we got 15. There it is. We want to do A plus B, which is 15 plus negative 9. 15 plus negative 9 is 6, which is option C. Number 18, which of the following is the sum of 3 consecutive odd integers? Okay, so 3 consecutive odd integers would be like 1, 3, 5, or 7, 9, 11. Now, if we add 3 odd integers, we're going to get an odd number. If you add 2 odd integers, or any even number of odd integers, you get an even. But if you add 3 odd integers, you are going to get an odd number, which means it can't be 26 and it can't be 290. So even if we're going to guess here, we're down to a 50-50 shot, A or C. Okay? So if we're guessing, then it's equally likely to be A or C. Okay, now, if we add 3 consecutive odd integers, let's try 5 plus 7 plus 9. 5 plus 7 plus 9, we're going to get 21. That's not big enough, so let's change that to 7 plus 9 plus 11. 7 plus 9 plus 11, and that's 27. That's too big, so it's not A. That means it definitely has to be option C. Okay, now if I want to check for option C, I could try, say, around 30. So 31 plus 33 plus 35. 31 plus 33 plus 35. That's not big enough. How about 33 plus 35 plus 37? That's exactly 105. So option C. Number 19, what is the value of the largest angle in the triangle above? So we're going to find the degree measure. Now in a triangle, these 3 angles must add up to 180. So 2x plus 3x plus 7x equals 180. 2 plus 3 is 5, plus 7 is 12, so I have 12 x's equals 180. Now I can divide by 12. 180 divided by 12 is 15, so I get x is 15. The largest angle must be this one, the 7x. That's bigger than 2x or 3x. So 7 times 15. 7 times 15 is 105. 105 degrees is the measure of the largest angle, so it's option D. The average in set A is 85 and the average in set B is 65. If the combined average of all the elements in set A and set B is 70, and set A has 5 elements, how many elements are in set B? Now this one, I think, if you're willing to guess on a couple problems, this is probably one you'll guess on. And that's okay. Let's try to make an educated guess, but then I'll also show you the math behind it. Okay, so the average of set A is 85, set B would be 65, and when I combine them, their combined average is 70. Okay, so 70 is closer to 65 than it is to 85, so that means this set B, will have more elements in it than set A has. Set A has 5 elements. They're not going to be the same, so D is out. Okay, so set B is going to have more elements because the average is closer to set B, but I don't think a crazy number more, so I think 15 is probably a pretty good guess. Okay, now let's see the math behind this. Okay, so when I do an average of multiple sets, okay, so I can take the average of one set times the number of elements plus the average of the other set times the number of elements, which in this case I don't know, and I divide it by the total number of elements. I don't even know the total number of elements, but I know it's 5 plus some other number, 5 plus x. That gives me the overall average of the two sets combined, which in this case is 70. Okay, now I can solve this equation for x and find out how many are in set B. Okay, so what I'm going to do is take this and multiply it over here. So that eliminates this denominator. Okay, so 85 times 5 is 425. So I get 425 plus 65x equals, and then I distribute 70 times 5. 7 times 5 is 35, so 70 times 5 is 350 plus 70x. Okay, now I will get variables on one side, constants on the other. So how about minus 65x on both sides and minus 350 on both sides. 425 minus 350 is 75, and 70x minus 65x is 5x. Okay, so 75 divided by 5 is 15. That means there are indeed 15 elements in set B. Okay, so we go on to our next page, and we've got number 21. A species of shark spends 25% of a day sleeping and 50% of the remaining time hunting. Okay, so that means 25% is sleeping and 75% remains. So the remaining time is 75% of the day. 50% of that time is spent hunting. Which of the following expressions represents how many hours in a day are left for other activities? So 75% of the day is left after sleeping time. 50% of that time is hunting, which means 50% of that time is doing other stuff. And we want to know how much time is left for other stuff. So 0.5 times 70, 0.70 times 75, 0.5 times 75 is 37.5. So 37.5% of the day is spent just doing other stuff, which is the same as 0.375. Okay, so is 3 over 2 the same as that? 3 over 2 is not 0.375. How about 3 over 4? That is not 0.375. 3 over 8, that is 0.375. So 3d over 8 will be the expression that represents the 37.5% of the day for stuff other than sleeping or hunting. The age of a random sample of people from a population is summarized in the table above. The whole population consists of 31,000 people. 750 people were sampled. Which of the following statements is true? So there are 15,200 females in the population, 5,580 females 65 old and younger, 9,300 females between 19 and 65, or we have no idea anything about the number of females in the population. Okay, I don't think it's going to be D because we have some sampling here about males and females, so I think we're going to be able to find something in here to match. Okay, so 370 were females out of the 750. So can we expect there to be about 15,200 females in the population? So 370 of the 750 were females. Okay, so 370 out of the 750. Okay, so there's the percent, 49.3 repeating percent. And there were 31,000 total in the population. That's 15,293. So that's 15,293. That's pretty close to 15,200. Okay, so as an approximation, that's not bad. So I'm not going to eliminate A just yet. We'll see if something gets right on to one of these numbers. And if not, option A is probably going to be what we'll go with. Okay, so how about 5,580 females, 65 years old and younger? So 65 years old and younger, that would be those segments of the female population. So we've got 50 plus 90 plus 135 is 275 out of the 750 that were in this poll. So divided by 750. Okay, so there's my percentage, and we'll multiply that by the total population of this town. Okay, and we've got 11,367. And that's not even close. So I will say definitely not B. Okay, how about 9,300 females between 19 and 65 years old? So 19 to 65, that's these females right here, 90 plus 135. And that's 225 of the 750 total people who were in this sample. So divide that number by 750, and it's 30%, times the 31,000 in the town, and that is 9,300, and that one is right on. So option C is going to be it for us. Okay, so next, if 2x squared minus 2y squared is 72 and x plus y is 18, what is the value of x minus y? Here's another opportunity, if you don't mind guessing a little bit, just to guess on one. Otherwise, you might just spend too much time on this when you only have 45 minutes to do this whole test. Okay, but let's go ahead and work our way through the math. We want to know the value of x minus y. Okay, so here's what we'll do. Let's solve both of these equations for x. So this one, I'm just going to move this y over. So it's going to become x equals 18 minus y. And here I'll move this y term over, and I'll get 2x squared equals 72, and then plus 2y squared. Okay, now I'll divide both sides by 2. X squared equals 72 divided by 2 is 36. 2y squared divided by 2 is y squared. And last, I will take the square root, which gives me two solutions, plus or minus, so I get x equals plus or minus the square root of 36 plus y squared. Now, I can't just do the square root of 36 and the square root of y squared to get 6 plus y. That won't quite work. So we're just going to leave it like this. Okay, so now let's use the positive solution, and I'll set this value of x equal to this value of x. So I get 18 minus y equals the square root of 36 plus y squared. In fact, I can put the plus or minus here and just say I'm going to use both solutions, because to get rid of the square root, I'm going to square both sides, and whether it's positive or negative, that's going to just disappear when I square. So I get 18 minus y times itself, so squared, 8 times 18 minus y equals, and here the square root and the squared cancel, 36 plus y squared. Okay, now let's distribute. 18 times 18 is 324. So I get 324. Then minus 18y minus another 18y, that's minus 36y. And then negative y times negative y is positive y squared equals 36 plus y squared. Okay, now let's subtract y squared from both sides, and look, those both cancel. Okay, so how about let's subtract 324 from both sides, and I get negative 36y equals 36 minus 324 is negative 288. And I can divide by negative 36. Divided by negative 36 is 8. So I get y equals 8. Okay, so there's my value of y. Now I want to do x minus y. So I need to find a value of x. Well, I can plug in y right here. So x equals 18 minus y, and y is 8. 18 minus 8 is 10. So I get x is 10. So what is x minus y? 10 minus 8. 10 minus 8 is 2. My value of x minus y is 2. Okay, so now we move on to number 24. If this equation is true, what is or what are the value or values of x divided by 2? So we'll find a value of x, maybe a couple values of x, and divide those by 2. Okay, so in order to solve this equation, I need to get rid of this square root so I can square both sides, which gives me 10x plus 35 equals x plus 6 squared. That's x plus 6 times itself. Okay, so that's x squared plus 6x plus 6x. That's plus 12x plus 36 equals 10x plus 35. Okay, now we have an x and an x squared, so let's move everything to the same side. So I'll move these over and change their sign. So I get 0 equals x squared. 12x minus 10x is 2x. 36 minus 35 is 1. Now I can solve this by factoring what two numbers multiply to make 1 and add up to make 2. Those numbers are 1 and 1. 1 times 1 is 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. So this is 0 equals, then my factored form is x plus 1 times x plus 1. Now what value of x makes this factor a 0? That value would be negative 1. What value of x makes this factor a 0? Also negative 1. So there's only one solution, so it's not going to be C and D. Okay, so I want the value of x divided by 2. So that is negative 1 divided by 2. Option A. This chart represents the employees at a hospital. So the employees are doctors, nurses, technicians, okay, and their number of years worked. So less than 2 years, 2 to 5, 6 to 10, or more than 10 years. Okay, so what is the probability that a technician has worked for more than 6 years? So I'm only concerned with technicians right now, and I'm really only concerned with more than 6 years. So 6 to 10 years and more than 10 years. Those are the technicians I am concerned with. What is the probability that if I choose a technician, that it's a technician who has worked for more than 6 years, or for 6 years or more? Okay, so 18 plus 12, that's 30 technicians have worked for 6 years or more out of the 60 total technicians. 30 over 60, that's half. That is 50%. Option D. Okay, so we have this function, f of x equals 2x squared plus a. If a is some constant, so a is not a variable, it is a constant, and f of 2 plus f of 3 equals f of 5, what is the value of a? So f of 2 means put a 2 in for x. So that's 2 times 2 squared plus a. Plus f of 3 means put a 3 in for x. That's 2 times 3 squared plus a. Equals f of 5, so put a 5 in for x. 2 times 5 squared plus a. So now, with that equation, what is the value of a? Remember order of operations. Do squaring before multiplying. So we have 2 times 2 squared. 2 squared is 4. Times 2 is 8. 8 plus a plus 3 squared is 9. Times 2 is 18 plus a. Okay, equals 5 squared is 25 times 2 is 50 plus a. Okay, now we can combine like terms. 8 plus 18, that is 26. A plus a is 2a equals 50 plus a. Okay, so let's subtract a from both sides. Let's subtract 26 from both sides. So we get 2a minus a, that's a. 50 minus 26 is 24. A is 24. What is the value of x plus y in this system of equations? Okay, so we multiply. In order to eliminate these x's, let's multiply by 4, and let's multiply this one by negative 3. Okay, so we get 12 12x plus 16y equals 12 times 4, 12, 24, 36, 48. Multiply this one by negative 3, so that's negative 12x plus negative 9, so minus 9y equals negative 3 times negative 5, that is 15. X's cancel. 16y minus 9y is 7y. And 48 plus 15, 48 plus 10 is 58, plus 5 is 63. And divide by 7, 63 divided by 7 is 9. Okay, but we want x plus y, so we need to find the value of x. Okay, so let's plug this 9 into this top equation. 3 times x plus 4 times 9 equals 12. 9, 18, 27, 36. So we'll subtract 36. So we get, let's see, 12 minus 36 is negative 24. So 3x equals negative 24. And divide by 3. Negative divided by positive is negative, and 24 divided by 3 is 8. So x plus y is negative 8 plus 9, which is 1, option D. Okay, next we move on to our gridded section. So now it's free response, and we'll fill in our grids. Okay, so I'm not actually going to have a grid in front of me, so we'll just come up with our solutions. So if x squared plus 5 equals 7, and x squared plus 5 times some constant equals 21, what is the value of that constant? So if we multiply both sides by some constant k, what is the value of that constant? Well, if 7k is 21, 7 times 3 is 21, so 3 is the value of that constant. There are 42 integers in a group. If there are 5 times as many odd integers as even, how many integers are even? How many numbers are even integers? So we have odds plus evens for a total of 42. Okay, and I know that the number of odds is equal to 5 times the number of evens. There are 5 times as many odds as there are evens. I'm going to take this right here, since it equals O, and put it in for O. So 5e plus e is 42. So that's 6e equals 42, and 42 divided by 6 is 7. So the answer I'll put in my grid is 7. Okay, and on our last page here, 1 hertz is the measure of frequency, is a measure of frequency and is equal to 1 cycle per second. The A string on a violin is tuned to the frequency of 440 hertz. If the string length is decreased, its frequency in hertz is increased. The decrease in string length changes according to this equation, where F is the frequency in hertz, V is a constant, L is the string length, and there's an application here below. So a string that is 440 hertz, which is exactly what we've got here, this A string. If I cut it in half, I now have 880 hertz. So that means I actually multiplied by the reciprocal. When I cut the string in half, I multiplied by 2 over 1 to get 880 hertz. If the length of an A string on a violin is decreased by 1/4, which means there's 3/4 remaining of the string, what is the frequency rounded to the nearest hertz? So I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal. So I started with 440, and I'll multiply that by the reciprocal of 3/4, so times 4/3. Okay, so 440 times 4 over 3 is 586.6, so 587 goes in my grid. The violin has another string called the D string. It is tuned to resonate at this number of hertz. If the lengths of the violin of A and D string are decreased by half, what is the difference? Okay, so I know that the violin A string cut in half gives me 880 hertz, minus how many hertz if I cut this D string in half. Now that actually takes that 293.7 and multiplies it by the reciprocal of 1/2, which is 2 over 1. So 293.7 times 2 is 587.4. Okay, so now I can subtract those. 880 minus 587.4, and that is 292.6. So 293 will be the difference. Okay, so 293 is what I'll put in my grid, and we went about a half minute over our 45-minute allotment, but with a little bit of explanations involved. I think that's okay. With a little bit of practice, you'll get tests like this done in under 45 minutes, but remember, it is okay to guess rather than take too long on any individual questions. Always guess rather than leave blank. If you don't know, just guess.